What happens when you admit that you're picky and you keep picking poorly? Let's break this one down.
Trying to figure out how I'm so picky and picked the wrong nigga. Left that nigga alone, then picked the wronger nigga. Then I left that nigga alone and had a baby with the wrongest nigga. Maybe I'm the problem.
Shout out to her for actually, talking about it and saying, even bringing up that, yo, I might be the problem. What we see this a lot, and on both sides, we all have a type, a certain thing we look for, and it starts early in our life, but we imprint on, right? That's a saying in some of these spaces. Who or what is your imprint? Essentially, what is your type? When you get hooked on this, for good or worse, this is a thing that you constantly return to. When no extra energy is required, this is what you pick. And a lot of us have poor imprint. This is what guys often worry about when you say you're looking at single mom. When the thought is that you and he are so bonded, you picked him. He was the guy that you always wanted. And I'm not. I'm square. I'm boring. I eat the same meals. I have the same routine. I do boring stuff. Right? Not that I don't go out. I don't vacation. I don't. But the day to day isn't filled with drama. And I'm not your type. That's my worry. That's my concern. Because who you've picked, and we see the visual representation of what type of man that was. We're not that. That's your imprint. This is the thing that guys often worry about. So when you constantly pick the same type of guy, even when you think you're doing something better, that's really just an indication that you haven't done that internal work in between. You're still attracted to the same things. And it's not just a physical look, there's a personality there. There's a personality through line that you'll see that this is what you like. This is what you're most comfortable in. And that comfort comes from you not having to do any type of work to become better for the potential next partner. It's it's essentially how we are water seeking its own level with us just kind of being lazy and being comfortable where we are. I don't want I want better, but not if it costs me who I am. That's a very, very real statement that I hope we can focus on. If I want better, what was that quote by I think Toni Morris? When we know better, we do better. Yeah, hopefully, idealistically. But if it requires me essentially killing off who I am, the old me, because the old me is getting me terrible, terrible, terrible reactions, terrible outcomes. That's what I want. I want that horizon, but it's going to require me to kill the me several times over. That's that self-improvement journey that we like to talk about. We like to say, yeah, just journal about it. And it's just that simple. Or you'll go to a therapist that doesn't really push you. Or you go to a therapist and it's garbage in, garbage out. But that's how you end up stuck in the very same position that you're in. Like she's saying, like she's just admitting here. Yeah, I picked this guy. That was bad. I picked the same type of guy again. Now, knowing better, now I had the same type of guy's baby. Now you inextricably tied to that man forever. When you now, and to give women credit, you're learning and you're saying, okay, I no longer want this. I no longer want this type of man or this type of outcome. So I'm going to now choose someone that's just different. That's we're thinking that's better. What we're not seeing is the type of work that allows you to pivot completely and say, I'm never going back to that. Not that I got it out my system, not that, oh, I just know better now. No, there's still a very real and raw attraction to that. That keeps you looking in that direction. That keeps us worried that he's just a couple of sentences. He can string together the right amount of words together to get back in your good graces to now get a foothold in potentially what's our relationship. Technically, he's in our relationship because you have a child with him. That's always going to be a thing. He can always show up to the house and say, I need to see my son. And whatever the situation, there's always going to be when he calls, you can't really just ignore that. If your child is with him, you can't really ignore him. So knowing better and just knowing better is not enough. Right? You have a type, you have an imprint. sometimes you have to do the work to kind of pivot away from that. And the longer you've been leaning into that imprint to your type, the harder it's always going to be. I think that that makes sense. Guys, let me know if you ever encounter something like this, or if you got your own type of imprint and what type of problems that has caused you. Guys, continue to like, comment, subscribe. I really love the conversations. I'll see you in the next one.